Hi guys, Olive here today to do part one of a two-part summer book haul. I have not done a book haul in a really long time. In fact, I don't think I've done a book haul since we moved to this new place, so it's been quite a while. During the first part of this year, I was actively trying to cut back on the number of books that I was acquiring, mainly because I knew that there was a move upcoming, and I had enough books to worry about cramming into boxes. But now that we're here at our new place, and I am firmly settled, and there are not piles of books all over the floor since I have my own dedicated reading room, I've kind of given myself permission to go crazy. So since our move, I have gone to some bookstores, mainly used bookstores, and gone to quite a few different book sales. The lion's share of the books that I have to show you today are in fact used books, but most of them are in pretty decent condition, and I am super excited about all of them. The first book that I picked up is called Stones Fall by Piers. This is the author of the very popular book here on BookTube, Arcadia. This is an earlier work of his in which a very influential financier and arms dealer falls out of his apartment window in London. Did he fall out accidentally, or was he pushed? This seems like a really twisty-turny mystery, and I am so on board for it. This next one that I bought seems perfect for summer, and that is The Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love by Oscar Cuellos. This book starts off in Cuba, where two brothers go through a very difficult childhood, but as adults, they end up going into music together. Their musical talents allow them to leave Havana in 1949 to trek to New York City in search of fame and fortune. From everything that I read about this book, it seems passionate, sexy, and absolutely thrilling. I think I'm going to be picking this one up next month. This next book is one of the ones that I actually did pick up new on a recommendation from an in real life friend, and that is The Merry Spinster, Tales of Everyday Horror by Mallory Ortberg. This is a small collection of short stories in which Mallory Ortberg, who is the author of Texts from Jane Eyre, in case that title rings a bell, reimagines classic fairy tales, but puts her own dark twist on them. While I'm not typically the type of person who enjoys reading reimagined fairy tales, I was too curious about this one to not want to pick it up. And speaking of fairy tales, this next one has a little bit of a fairy tale vibe to it. That book is Bellwether by Dennis Mahoney. First of all, this book has a gorgeous cover that is even more enchanting in person, if you can believe it. But this is a strange fantasy book in which a man rescues a nearly dead woman from a forest. Upon rescuing her, he gets the sense that his fate and her fate are destined to become irreversibly intertwined. From the description of this book, it seems like it is a sprawling, at times hysterically funny, at times beguiling fantasy novel that I cannot wait to get into. The next book I picked up also has touches of fantasy in it, and that is Viper Wine by Hermione Eyre. I know that sounds like a pen name, but no, that is her actual name. I first heard about this book from Yvette from Folio Musings. She was giving this book a rave review, and I knew I had to get my hands on it. This is a highly original story set in 1632 that is part historical fiction, but also part fantasy. Our main character in this book is one of many women at the time who is taking an anti-aging elixir called Viper Wine. And if that wasn't intriguing enough to get you hooked, our main character's husband can also see into the future. I admittedly don't know any more about the story than what I just told you, but I do want all the remaining elements to remain a mystery so I can be surprised as I go through this book. I think this is one I am also going to pick up next month. And rounding out the books that I picked up that have a hint of magic to them, I also picked up The Book of Night Women by Marlon James. Marlon James won the Booker Prize for his book A Brief History of Seven Killings a few years ago, but this book was published back in 2009. This book follows a woman who was born into slavery on a Jamaican sugar plantation in the late 18th century. Immediately when she is born, the other slave women notice a dark power within her, and when she comes of age, they recruit her to join their group of Night Women, which is a group that they are bringing together in order to plan a slave revolt. The next book I picked up is less fantasy and more natural science, and that is The Signature of All Things by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is another historical fiction novel, and our main character is a female botanist who is researching things relating to evolution, a female Charles Darwin, if you will. But as she travels and studies, she starts to fall for a man who pulls her into his more spiritual world. I have such a thing for books about lady scientists, and any book that even remotely reminds me of Euphoria by Lily King is something that I must pick up. Next up, I have a work in translation, and that is Confessions of the Lioness by Mia Court. This book is set in an isolated village in Mozambique, and all the villagers' belief systems begin to be questioned when these ghost-like lionesses begin hunting the women who live there. This one sounds incredibly haunting, but I have a hunch that the writing in this one is going to be beautiful. I also picked up a used copy of the classic social satire Vanity Fair by William Thackeray. This book follows two different women, classmates who come from drastically different backgrounds. One of them is an orphan who is reliant on her wits to succeed in life, and the other one is a pampered daughter of a wealthy family who is extremely naive. I have been wanting to pick this one up for quite a while. I think I'm going to be putting this one on my 2019 Classics TBR. Next, I picked up a piece of literary fiction that was extremely popular here on BookTube not too long ago. That is Commonwealth by Ann Patchett'S. Just like with Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides, I was talked into an interest in this book by Stephanie over at That's What She Read. At the start of this story, a man crashes a christening party. He ends up falling in love with the mother of the baby and leaves his wife to be with her. The rest of this book is the complex story of their blended family. Stephanie spoke so highly of this book that the next time I'm in the mood for a good family drama, I'm reaching for this one first. Another name that is well known among those of us who enjoy reading contemporary literary fiction is Lauren Groff. This is her first short story collection, Delicate Edible Birds. I absolutely loved Lauren Groff's last published novel, Fates and Furies. In fact, if I were to make a list of my favorite novels of all time, Fates and Furies would probably rank on that list. And while I was not a fan of her book, The Monsters of Templeton, I have heard people say really good things about this short story collection. The synopsis of this collection claims that each story reveals a resonant drama within the life of a 20th century woman. I will be interested to pick this book up and see if that's true. Another earlier work of a pretty big name author is The Blindfold by Siri, Yvette. This book is about a young graduate student named Iris and her relationships with four very disparate but also very odd men. From everything that I hear about this author, I'm starting to gather that she writes very troubling and very weird, but also very thought-provoking novels, and I doubt this will be any exception. Moving on to some lighter fare, I also picked up Come Hell or Highball by Maya Chance. This is the first book in a cozy mystery series that is set in Prohibition-era New York City. In it, our newly widowed early 30s heroine Lola and her Swedish cook slash sidekick Berta attempt to recover a stolen reel of film and discover a murderer's identity. When I am in the mood for one, I love a good cozy mystery, and I have a really good feeling about this one because it is published by Minotaur Books, which is the same publisher of my favorite cozy mystery series, the Amory Ames Mysteries. Another book I picked up that's kind of on similar lines is Girl Waits with Gun by Amy Stewart. This is another first in a series that is based off the true story of one of our country's first female sheriffs. This book starts off when Constance Kopp, our main character, and her two sisters face trouble when their wagon runs into a wealthy factory owner in 1914. From what I've been reading in Goodreads reviews, it seems that this book was marketed as a mystery novel, or more specifically a cozy mystery novel, but reads more like straight historical fiction. I have 5 books left to show you, the first of those being The Half-Brother by Holly Lucre. This is a campus novel in which a young teacher at a genteel school falls for one of his students. He waits for her to come of age until he expresses his feelings for her. Before he can really do so, he discovers a dark secret that will prevent them from being together. He is forced to break her heart, and she leaves the school. Until many years later, she comes back as a teacher, but at the exact same time that our main character's half-brother also comes to the school to teach. His half-brother is one of those people who has a magnetic personality who everyone is drawn to, and this creates an awkward situation with the girl that he once loved. I also picked up a copy of Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk by Kathleen Rooney. It is New Year's Eve 1984, and 85-year-old advertising legend Lillian Boxfish decides to take a walk around Manhattan. This novel not only talks about what she sees on that walk, but also shares her recollections from her very colorful life. I remember Bree Hill talking about how much she loved this book, and ever since I heard her talk about it, I've been interested in reading it, so I couldn't resist picking up a copy when I found it at a used book sale. The next book that I'd like to show you is called The Master of the Prado by Javier Sierra. This book claims to be a fictionalized autobiography that will take the reader on a tour of the Prado Museum and will illuminate the mysteries behind European art. And there are actual color inserts of said artwork in the book. The penultimate book that I would like to show you in this haul is called The Winthrop Woman by Anya Seton. I am slowly starting to acquire all of Anya Seton's books that have recently been published with these gorgeous Mariner Books covers. Seriously, you should see the whole array of them. They are absolutely swoon-worthy. This one happens to be about a freshly widowed mother of an infant daughter who sets sail to the New World in 1631. When she gets there, she dares to befriend the socially shunned, challenge powerful men, and just generally be a badass. I'm into it. And the final book in this haul is yet another piece of historical fiction called The Stalin Epigram by Robert Littell. This book is set in Moscow in 1934, and it portrays a historical episode in which a poet is accused of counter-revolutionary activities when he is caught writing poetry that is critical of Stalin. After he is thrown in prison for committing this crime, his writer friends do not know where they stand. Since I know quite a bit about Stalin, I think it will be very interesting reading a fictionalized tale of this time period. So those are all the fiction books that I have picked up recently. There will be a second part of this haul in which I discuss all of the non-fiction titles that I have picked up. But I would love to hear from you if you have read any of these books, if you would recommend any of them in particular, or if you're now interested in reading them after hearing me talk about them. You can put that or any other comments or questions you may have down in the comment section below, or if you'd like to chat somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles are linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.